My name is Monica Gleiberman, and you're listening to Silence on Set podcast. On today's podcast, we're talking to the cast of There's Something Wrong with the Children. The film is a horror movie that starts off with Margaret and Ben, who take a weekend trip with two longtime friends and their two young children. Ben soon suspects something sinister is afoot when the kids start behaving strangely after disappearing in the woods overnight. So, to give us a little insight into this new, fascinating horror movie, here's Carlos Santos, who plays Thomas. So I love the film so much. So I want to start off first with your character of Thomas. He's such a good guy and, struggling with his marriage, and he has a lot of things going on. For you, how did you kind of step into the role and try to relate to the things that he was going through?
I've been cheated on before, so it was really easy
Oh
to
no.
tap into that space. No, yeah, no, I mean, there's versions of that, not necessarily exactly what Thomas is going, but the feeling of like insecurity that comes from that kind of situation is not a foreign concept. So I was able to tap into that very easily.
I was gonna say, who would cheat on you? Like, that's
Oh
crazy.
boy, you'd be surprised.
Doubt it. I doubt it. Okay, so my other question, I'm just jumping right in because I'm obsessed with this movie.
Do
My
it.
other thing is, what was one of like the craziest things that happened on set? Because this film is crazy, like
Yeah,
nonstop crazy. Like, I mean, like in the beginning, it's a little calm, and then it
sure.
just jumps off the
Yeah.
deep end, with pun intended. But like, I mean, it's crazy.
So for me specifically, yeah, because I come in, I feel like spoiler alert, I don't really come into like the action until later. So I was just very happy to do that. But something scary. I mean, the pit itself, like the location was real. Like the pit itself wasn't real, but going in there was pretty creepy. I think that was not, it wasn't hard to like get into the mood. Thankfully, the location scout found a really good spot. They just needed to add a couple things to make it extra. Yeah, it felt like, oh, there's things have happened here. I feel like the vibe and the energy. But yeah, I mean, for me, I would say the opposite. Though when we got into like the bloodier stuff, I was in heaven. I was having the best time.
Would you say, like, when you're in that like that building, which is super creepy, I can't even imagine what that was like filming in there. Did it feel like heavy when you went in there, or was it more of just like the creepy side?
Yeah, it didn't feel heavy like if we were filming at like an old mental hospital, but it definitely felt like there's some decay here. We don't know where it's from, like that kind of vibe. It's like that old musty, like like cavey old
That kind of
building
feeling.
vibe.
So I love Thomas, and I'm trying not to give too much away, but I will put it out after the movie's available. Thomas, struggles, and I love that he incorporates two languages. So he's
Mhm.
bilingual. There's no subtitles, and I love all of that stuff. What did that mean for you as an actor to be able to do that and then not try to like explain what's being said? And it's just part of his culture because that's how he was raised and that's how he's raising his kids.
Not only did I get to do Spanish, but I got to do Spanish from Puerto Rico, which is where I'm from. I typically, because of the way it works out, I usually end up doing mostly Mexican roles. So this was the first time I was able to kind of commit my Spanish to a film or just my actual upbringing. So it was a great opportunity. She was all about it from the beginning, so she kind of let me take the lead with that, which I really appreciate. But for me, it was really special because I was literally tapping into my family. I have two older sisters. I helped raise four nieces and nephews, so I was there. So when I was tapping into that, it was very cool, and it also let me think, oh, if I do have kids, it's gonna go right. Like I'm gonna cue right into it, like that rhythm of just being like an authority figure for a child. And then the other thing is that I felt like a parent basically, but the Spanish stuff was really important to me. There's like a phrase, me casó en la potoroca, which actually a Puerto Rican like phrase that doesn't mean anything to. It's just it comes from like there's a lot of meaning behind it, but I've never heard it on film. So the fact that I got to say it and it's committed to film is very special to me.
Yeah, I loved it. And I love that it was a mix, right? Like it was like Spanish, and then all of a sudden he was speaking English. And I was like, that's so normal because I have that in my family.
When you have a biracial situation, like that's how it would have worked. It would be on me to talk to the kids in Spanish and the mom to talk, So it was very much like I've seen that before. My nieces and nephews also grew up in the US, so they have that both. I talk to them both in Spanish and English, and we kind of go back and forth, and there's no second explanation for it. So I think it was important for me to just have that with the kids without having to beat it over the head.
Well, I loved it. You did such a good job with it. And it's just nice to see it on film because a lot of times it's like subtitled or it's explained or someone will say, "What'd you say?" And it's just like kind of annoying. So I liked that they kept all of that out. And it was just like life, felt like my life kind of when I watched it. So I love that. I want to get into the blood. This movie is not shy with blood. I think it's probably one of the most bloodiest films I've seen in a while. For your character, and again, I don't want to get too specific, but he kind of leaves momentarily and then we
Mhm,
see him again and he's like fully covered with blood
mhm.
and is trying to save some of the situation. So what was that like for you getting into all that blood and then having that moment? Because I feel like that everyone wants that moment in a horror movie where like you're the guy that like runs
Mhm.
out all of a sudden. So what was that like to play that guy and have that moment and be covered in blood and all of that?
I couldn't get enough, and Roxanne will tell you that I was like a kid in a candy store. Well, not only just the blood, but there was also like special effects makeup that looked fantastic, like from just like damage in my face, which was just the whole process. Obviously, right now I was just super excited to just go through the process, and the makeup people were great. I mean, it looked like I was looking at pictures yesterday, and I was like, it looks so good. And I have like a video I might post it. It's just me standing there where everybody's just blooding me, and it's like a team of like six people just like spraying and painting. It's like all bloody. It was great. I had a blast. And to have that little stunt too, and just kind of to have a little bit of action, I loved it.
Yeah, and you're the guy, like literally when it plays in the theater, everyone's gonna scream. I was curious, did you steal anything?
Did I steal anything? No, I
Yeah.
gently borrowed some stuff.
I mean, there were
Uh,
beer caps, there was beer
you
bottle. I
know,
mean,
I think we were trying
yeah.
to take some stuff, and then I think it didn't work out. I think we're all like, "Oh yeah, the movie's done. We can take like," and I don't think we ended up taking anything because we were hanging out there, like the house and stuff, like where we were filming. That was the also de facto green room. It was very much like it's like an Airbnb situation. We're hanging out in the house, but I don't think we ended up taking anything.
People are really excited. Blumhouse obviously is a huge name, so there's a lot of expectation. So what are you hoping when people kind of go in to see it and their reaction? Because fans are super excited for this one.
Well, I got to see a screening of it with a full audience, which is great. Like it's not the same, obviously, when you're watching clips of it, and because as an actor, you focus on the things that you have to focus on with the character and you hope for the best. It was really cool to see that come together and see people genuinely next to me like screaming or like all like the tension. I'm like, and I got into it even though I know what's gonna happen, so it was really great. And I'm just excited for people to have that experience.
You were so good in this film. I
Thank
love
you.
your character so much. I love you so much.
Oh my God.
And I'm just so
Thank you.
happy for you. I'm so happy because it's so good. So I can't wait for everybody to see it. Thank you so much. And to follow you, and they can follow you on Twitter too.
Yeah, it's Carlos Santos.
I just cannot wait to talk to you on your next thing. All right. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you so much. And congratulations again. And now here's Alisha Wainwright, who plays Margaret. I am so excited to talk with you because I watched the movie twice. It's so good. I have so many questions for you, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have no time with her. So I'm just gonna like kind of jump in. So first of all, I love Margaret. I love the whole storyline that she has and the strength that she has throughout the film. Obviously, doing a horror movie, I know it takes a lot emotionally. This one in particular, I mean, there's kids involved, there's relationships, friendships, things like that. For you, when you decided to sign on, what was your preparation in terms of dealing with the emotional toll that your character was going to have to take throughout the entire film?
Well, it was pretty interesting that the character for the first third, if not half of the movie, was just kind of being. So, she was just kind of trying to make sure that the whole weekend went well, that she could do what she could to take some pressure off of her friend. And really, for the first half of the movie, it was just about establishing that relationship with my best friend, Ellie, who's played by Amanda Crew, and then my husband, Ben, who's played by Zach Gilford. And so it was mostly about like the relationships for the first half of the prep, and then the second half just worked itself out, because once those relationships were created, it made it much easier to have something to lose by the second half. So watching the people that I really care about have something terrible happen to them, it's just a raw, obviously it's an imaginary situation on my end, but it made it easy to tap into that sort of frame of mind.
When it starts off, the four of you, so there's Margaret, Thomas, Ben, and Ellie, that are all having kind of like a relationship, and like we meet you guys, and it's like you guys have been friends for years, when we kind of meet you. How is it establishing that as actors? Because when it starts, I literally felt like I used to go upstate New York, and we would be in cabins, and it would be like family friends and just hanging out, and it just felt like that right away, that you guys had just all known each other forever.
I'm really glad that you felt that, because when we all met each other, I think maybe we all went out on a dinner, but it just became really clear because of the way the movie was shot. Location was really far from the trailers, so oftentimes we were all together on set, but in our like kind of green room area, and it just fostered all these really interesting conversations and time spent together. And what's even more beautiful now is that since the movie's wrapped over a year ago, we're all still friends, and we hang out at each other's houses, and we go on walks. And I think that is kind of the most special part of this movie, is that the genuine feeling that you're getting from the friendships is stemming from actual genuine chemistry and connection with everybody in the movie.
And how is it working with Briella and David, who play the two children in the film? Because a lot rides on them to kind of catalyst, the storyline. So what was it like working with them, and a lot of the action scenes and stuff? Might that be something that you'd want to do to a child while you're working? But obviously, yes, it's fake. So like, what was that like for you to have to like incorporate that too?
I've worked with kids a lot in my career. And the one thing I always bring up again and again is it's the children, but it's so much the parents. And I just want to make sure I always give credit to the parents who are there on set, really creating a safe space for their kids so that they can perform to the best of their abilities. And like Briella and David's parents were so dialed in to just making themselves available, and making sure that the kids were in a really great state of mind. Because for us, as adults, we have the faculties to juggle a lot of things in our head, but these kids, they really, you want to capture kind of a raw genuineness with them and remove all the stress of, a shoot. And I think that their parents are really good at doing that, so that when the kids came on set, they were fun, they were happy, and they were professional. So, I also think little kids love being creepy, and they love jumping around and doing things that feel otherworldly. So, kids aren't legally allowed to do stunts, but there were these moments where like my character ends up pushing some of the kids, and it gets green screened. What ends up happening, some of the kids had so much fun knowing that they were on a green screen and that they were getting pushed into this thing and they were falling into the mat with the stunt coordinator. And they were just so sweet because, this is the movie magic. And so it's fun to see them appreciate movies like through their lens, because, we're all jaded and like, what's another green screen? But these kids, they love it, so it's fun.
And then how was it working? Obviously, the most important relationship I felt was between Margaret and Ben. And we find out a lot as the movie kind of unfolds between the two and what's happened. And there's, lingering things. So how was it working with Zach, kind of building Margaret and Ben together? And then also, Margaret's a badass. So what was that like too? I watch a lot of horror movies. I watch a lot of films, and I hate when like the girl just falls and then she doesn't know what to do. Like Margaret's not that girl. So I wanted to know what that was like.
Working with Zach was so much fun. Like I said, everyone just got along so well. And I think everyone came in with a certain amount of prep work already done, which made, with these sorts of movies, you don't have a lot of rehearsal time or anything. You kind of just have to jump right in and be ready for what happens. And I think that being directed by Roxanne, and she was very clear in the vision of what she wanted, it made it really easy for Zach and I to kind of just dial into our characters and really communicate the sort of like slow reveal of what's actually happening in their relationship. And then beyond that, like I love stunts. I love running around and feeling like I'm saving the world, but in this movie, it's really like just trying to save myself. And like, she just feels like, it's almost like Zach's character feels crazy And so he doesn't get any support from people. And then once everyone's gone and it's just Margaret, she feels crazy trying to get the park ranger to do something. And they're being very like wishy-washy. And like, it's very frustrating for her character because she knows that there's something wrong, but like no one can really help her except herself. So I would say like that's a fun perspective to play rather than like maybe in Raising Dion where my character felt like she always had the right answers, you know?
Well, I wanted to ask you, I guess like one of my last questions, because I think I have, but I wanted to ask about how you feel about interpretive endings. You know, I don't want to give anything away, but how you feel about interpretive endings. Are you happy with how it kind of wraps up? And then also, how do you feel about fans? Because people are so excited to see this movie. I just think it looks so good and it's such a twist on a horror story. And like, I just want to hear, I guess, what you think about interpretive endings and if there's anything that you would say to the fans that are like super excited, like counting down the days for it to come out.
Well, I love an interpretive ending because I think the best thing about seeing a movie is the conversation afterward. So if you can be in a position where everyone's kind of trying to figure out, well, like, this is what I think, and this is what I think, that's the fun of seeing a movie. And I think, you know, 9 times out of 10, you're going to watch a movie where it has a pretty concrete ending, but every once in a while you'll have like a little nugget of a movie where it fosters conversation after the fact. And there are greater themes about having children and being friends with friends that have children and don't. And like, there's so much to discuss in this movie that I really enjoy. And to the fans that want to see this movie, please go watch it. Please watch it and tell your friends about it. Watch it twice, like you did, Monica, you know, because these sorts of movies that are sort of like not so super tough on the jump scares, like you're not going to be jumping from the beginning. It's a slow burn movie. And so I understand that that's a very specific type of horror film, but those are the ones I like to enjoy. Like suck me in with the character and the situation and then completely ruin me by freaking me out at the ends. Like that's what I want to see. That's what I say to the fans. Like, I hope you enjoy it.
Well, I want to thank you so much. It is so good. You are fantastic at it. And I've seen you in a lot of things. This was like next level. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. And like I said, I watched it more than once and I was catching different things too. So I'm telling everybody to watch it more than once. You just did such a fantastic job. And I just want to thank you so much for taking time out to talk with me. I was so excited to talk with you because you did so good. And just congratulations. I cannot wait for this to come out. Hope you guys enjoyed listening to Carlos Santos and Alisha Wainwright talk about their characters, preparation, and what it was like bonding, and some fun behind the scenes stories, including massive amounts of blood. So if you're interested in checking out the film, it's going to be released on January 17th, available to stream on Prime Video. So make sure you go and check it out. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you're updated on all of our latest podcasts, and head over to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe so you're updated on all of our video content.